bankrupt. And there's a penalty for bankruptcy. Your credit sucks. You're very difficult to get a loan. Very difficult for people to trust you again. You have to earn that trust back. And even then, it's always going to be a stain on your record.
It's absolutely, he needs money.
You think he's going
Once
broke?
again, come on. Fighters like that always go broke.
Yeah, he's stupid. He's an idiot. He loves the fame and he loves the money. So ultimately, if you're just that money hungry and that fame hungry, you're gonna just do whatever. You don't care what.
Before the first punch is ever thrown, Joe Rogan already sees the problem, and it's not power, it's patience. Because Shakur Stevenson versus Teófimo López is a fight where one mistake could decide everything. This isn't just Joe Rogan talking boxing. This is Joe Rogan pulling the curtain back on a fight that looks simple on paper and absolutely terrifying once you actually understand it. Because the moment Rogan starts breaking down Shakur Stevenson versus Teófimo López, the conversation stops being about hype, trash talk, or bravado.
From Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, what have we got here?
As I look at it, for the fans, it put boxing still on the map because it keeps boxing relevant. Having exhibition fights like this, different celebrities and different things like that. I look at it as a fun thing for fans and stuff like that. I don't really take it seriously, because, we in the business of boxing. That right there is just, exhibition stuff. But I'm hearing they say it's a real fight, but yeah, it's a real fight because both guys are getting in a fight. I'm still the one that be thinking certain things are scripted as well too. So, but we'll see. I always say may the best man win, and main thing about it, may those guys go in there and have a hell of a lot of fun.
And turns into something far more uncomfortable. Styles, psychology, patience, and the kind of skill that makes explosive fighters question their own instincts mid-fight. And from the very jump, Rogan makes it clear that this matchup isn't loud violence versus quiet defense. It's control versus chaos, discipline versus emotion, and belief versus reality.
Fake Paul, I call him, against Anthony Joshua. Massive unit, two-time world champ, still got a big punch. I think he's mentally fragile at world level if he goes against the big guns because of the knockout, especially the Dubois knockout when he got fucking splattered. You know what I mean? In round 5, and he got hurt early on and then got done. And he's not been in the ring for 13 months.
Yeah.
But can you see a world in which Jake Paul is competitive in this fight?
No.
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 How do you see the fight going if AJ takes it serious?
Because Shakur Stevenson isn't built to impress you in 10 seconds. He's built to dismantle you over 12 rounds while convincing you that nothing you're trying actually matters. Rogan keeps circling back to the same uncomfortable truth for Teófimo López fans. Explosiveness only works when someone panics, and Shakur doesn't panic, he calculates. And that's where this fight gets dangerous fast. The way Rogan explains it, Shakur's defense isn't just good. It's frustrating in a way that drains confidence. Because when a fighter uses the Philly shell correctly, and Shakur does, it doesn't just block punches, it sends a message. You're swinging, I'm watching, and nothing you're throwing scares me. Rogan compares it to the Mayweather blueprint. Not because Shakur copies Floyd, but because the philosophy is the same hit without being hit. Take inches away and let the other guy beat himself trying to solve a puzzle that never gives the same answer twice.
Posted on Twitter after the fight. Jaw broken, heart and balls intact. That's a good thing. Time to rest, recover, and return to cruiserweight. I mean, he's coming out of it as if, well, yeah, I got battered in the end, but boy.
That's what he will do. I mean, it depends what you think this was. I mean, I never felt it was anything other than entertainment. I'm not surprised that Anthony Joshua could have knocked Jake Paul out anytime he wanted to. He didn't want to.
So why didn't he?
Because, well, when you're on a platform like Netflix that turns one-part episodes into a 6-part series, why would you think that part of their entertainment model is to have a 30-second fight? Why? You watch a Netflix series, you can watch it and you can go, well, I get the gist of it. Why have you got to turn it into 10 episodes? Because I'm dying with boredom after episode.
Are you telling me that Netflix probably emphasised, listen guys, take this as long as you can?
Anthony Joshua didn't step, irrespective, I sat to all these guys, whether it be Spencer or Paul Smith, talking about the fact that Jake Paul couldn't run, didn't have the footwork to be able to move around.
And that's where Teófimo's aggression becomes a double-edged sword. Because Rogan doesn't question Lopez's talent, power, or speed. He questions whether those tools work against someone who refuses to give you emotional feedback. Shakur doesn't flinch, doesn't overreact, doesn't get dragged into ego wars, and Rogan knows exactly how dangerous that is for a fighter whose confidence thrives on momentum and reaction. Then you hear Shakur himself speak. and suddenly the tension changes flavor. Because this isn't false bravado or Instagram confidence. It's the calm certainty of someone who genuinely believes he's operating on a higher intellectual level inside the ring. Shakur doesn't say he's going to beat Teófimo. He says he's going to teach, to demonstrate, to put on a masterclass. And those words should scare people more than knockout predictions. Because fighters who talk like that aren't chasing moments. They're chasing statements. He openly says Teófimo doesn't realize how good he is. And that line lands like an insult wrapped in truth. Because Shakur isn't arguing resume, he's arguing awareness.
Fair play to Jake Paul. He has a lot of guts, and the fact that he wasn't carried out of this fight on a stretcher, you know, certainly I guess you can say is a positive. But what did I think about this? What did I think about Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul? Look, it felt like Anthony Joshua carried him. It felt like Jake Paul brought in as much of a negative anti-style as possible, circling away, constantly holding Joshua, constantly falling to the ground. Again, while you're certainly going to give respect for the YouTube star turned fighter for having the guts to put on this type of show and to stand in there for as long as he did until a clean right hand in the corner when Paul was absolutely exhausted, dropped him and ended the fight. This is not elite boxing, and we knew that coming in, but if these fights are going to be sanctioned as official fights, like the Mike Tyson fight from last year,
he believes Lopez is still fighting ghosts from past battles, still chasing validation, still trying to prove he's dangerous, while Shakur is fighting that man in front of him with surgical focus. When Shakur dismisses the weight jump talk, it doesn't sound defensive, it sounds dismissive. Muscle doesn't win fights isn't trash talk, it's philosophy. And Rogan agrees with him more than people want to admit. Bigger doesn't mean smarter, stronger doesn't mean cleaner, and history is littered with fighters who thought size would intimidate someone who doesn't fight emotionally. Shakur's goal isn't just winning, it's rewriting how he's viewed, moving himself from elite champion into historical conversation. And that kind of ambition changes how a fighter behaves under pressure because he's not fighting for applause, he's fighting for placement in history. Teófimo López, on the other hand, brings a completely different energy, not wrong, not fake, but volatile, explosive, and fueled by belief rather than calculation.
I do believe it was scripted. What? And I believe that Tyson was certainly held back. What? Look, I'm a fighter and I can see it. It goes on the record and it was sanctioned. What? So Jake Paul paid to get the W on his record? Bruh. For what? For your own personal satisfaction? Bruh. I keep telling you, if you want to be a real fighter, like you say you want to be, what are you doing?
Some news about how he spoke to one of the Paul brothers and that they had an agreement that no one was supposed to get severely injured and that the fight had to last at least through the 6th round. As I was watching the fight, I'm like, damn, it looked like Mike came out a little hot, and I saw him do this one thing where he kept biting his gloves. I know there was a big age discrepancy here, right? Jake Paul being 27, Mike Tyson being 58, of course. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, is he biting onto his glove to hold back? Because it looked like he had something there. Even some of the jabs Mike threw, I'm like, he stopped his punch. I'm not trying to be conspiracy theorist here, but thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know if Mike completely exerted himself or he just got really tired.
I don't know about it being rigged or not, but I do feel bad for people who really are invested in the sport.
You wanna know why I also think it might be a bit rigged? When the fight ended, Jake Paul kept calling out other fighters and he kept referencing, you guys need me, you guys need me. And I'm realizing he's meaning his money. So if boxers and people in the industry know that, hey, if we go get with Jake Paul, we'll make X.
He calls it a legacy fight, and for him it genuinely is because Teófimo has always lived at the intersection of brilliance and chaos. He thrives when people doubt him, when the odds feel disrespectful, when the narrative says he can't, and that's why this fight is so fascinating. Because Teófimo doesn't see Shakur as an unsolvable problem. He sees him as a test of evolution. He believes 140 pounds is where he becomes something different, something scarier, something more complete. And he leans hard into unpredictability, reminding everyone that no opponent has ever truly known which version of him shows up. That unpredictability has saved him before, but Rogan quietly questions whether unpredictability works against someone whose entire style is built on reading patterns in real time. Teófimo claims Shakur is scared to get hit, and on the surface, that sounds like a criticism. But Rogan flips it into a compliment, because fighters who don't get hit aren't scared. They're disciplined. The real question isn't whether Shakur avoids punches, it's whether Teófimo can force him into exchanges without burning himself out, without getting frustrated, without loading up and losing form. Rogan knows that once aggression turns into impatience, defensive technicians feast, and that's where Teófimo's power becomes irrelevant if he can't land it clean. The experts pile on fuel, not clarity. Eddie Hearn frames the fight like a religious event Madison Square Garden. Legacy on the line, two divisions colliding.
I do this all the time. They'll be real dicks about it. Some guy will look great on the mitts. They'll go, well, mitts doesn't count. It's like, well, it kind of does count. If I have you working out on the mitts from a year ago, and I have a new tape today, and I can juxtapose those, I actually can see some timing. I actually can see some speed. I actually can see some footwork. I can see some power, and I can compare it. Now, Jake is in a wildly difficult spot. Boxing is unlike, by example, track and field. Track and field is all about personal records. You do not need to be faster than the guy standing next to you, right? Now you can win and you can get trophies on that, but it's not actually your goal that your coach is working on you with. You just today want to be faster, throw further, jump higher than a previous version of yourself. Boxing doesn't work that way. It is straight. It doesn't matter how good you are. It is 100% comparative to how good is this guy. I understand that. But as human beings, we have to start somewhere. And I think there are many things that are going to be wins for Jake. I do not subscribe to the idea. Now he does. He will not agree with me, but an older version of himself, as he looks back, will see that Chael makes a very fair point. There's a number of things that are going to be wins or not for Jake. Now, Joshua's got one. Crush that man, get your hand raised. That's it. Well, I don't see it like that for Jake. I don't see it like that. And I know you guys don't either. I know you don't, because so many people that are predicting this fight won't even happen. Or that are predicting if this fight happens, these guys are going to be nice to each other. What does this word exhibition mean? Right? There's all these things where you're trying to take away, and you're not necessarily wrong. If Jake shows up for this fight,
And while he praises both men, even that praise quietly acknowledges the tension. One man is number one because of dominance, the other because of belief. Tim Bradley goes full bold, saying Shakur could outbox even the most feared punchers in the sport. And that statement isn't about disrespect, it's about style. Bradley understands that boxing isn't about who hits hardest. It's about who controls time, space, and mistakes. And Shakur does that better than almost anyone alive. Abel Sanchez adds a warning shot to the excitement, pointing out that brilliance doesn't always mean fireworks, because when two counterpunchers share a ring, patience can suffocate action. And that's the uncomfortable truth fans don't like to hear. This fight could be a chess match, not a brawl, a battle of inches instead of knockdowns. But Rogan reminds everyone that chess matches are where careers get defined, because there's nowhere to hide when every decision is intentional. Then there's the subtext, the tension that doesn't show up on punch stats or highlight reels. Shakur hints that jealousy and recognition play a role here.
For someone who's been boxing for like less than a decade, he has had no real professional opponents other than Tommy Fury that were legitimate world-class boxers.
I don't even remember what happened in the Tommy
He lost a close decision, but it was a good fight. It was a good fight, though. He's a good boxer. If he wasn't a YouTuber, people would be way more impressed with him.
Yeah.
The problem is he was like a famous kid, and then no one took him seriously.
Yeah.
But
oh, and then he started too with like more spectacle-ish fights. People were like, "Oh, this is you." He fought, Nate Robinson, like a basketball player.
But the thing is, he knocked Nate Robinson.
He knocked him
dead.
the fuck out.
And
yeah.
it's the way he did it that I was trying to tell people. I'm like, no, that was skillful. So like, there's like boxing matches where you see two guys just slugging it out. One guy lands a punch, and yeah, he landed a good punch. What Jake did is he slid back and landed a punch.
Yeah.
It's like the athleticism along with the intelligence, the technique. I'm like, he's not even doing it that long. And he's also hyper competitive, even though he's wealthy.
Yeah.
Like you would assume that wealth would take away your drive for
but
competition.
It hasn't, yeah.
He's also nuts, right? Just
Yeah.
the fact that he's willing to fight the two-time heavyweight champion former Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
A guy who's gigantic in his prime, built like a Greek god.
Yeah.
And you're going to stand, and he's a one-punch killer. And you're going to stand in front of that guy, and he avoided shots till the 6th round. He just started getting tired.
Yeah, his movement in that fight was crazy.
It was very good.
Yeah,
it was very good.
He was really keeping him moving around the whole ring, and then
you can't afford to get tired. That's the thing is, like, he gets tired in a lot of his fights in the later rounds. You should really sort that out. Because if he had a much bigger gas tank, like if he was training with like some of these elite world-class strength and conditioning coaches and just worked on his cardio, he'd be beating way more guys.
That Teófimo's frustrations with media narratives, promotion, and respect have hardened into something personal. That matters because fighters who feel misunderstood fight differently, sometimes sharper, sometimes sloppier. Rogan doesn't pick sides emotionally, but he recognizes that resentment can either sharpen focus or cloud judgment. And that psychological edge might decide rounds more than power ever could. This fight isn't just southpaw versus orthodox, technician versus puncher. It's self-control versus self-expression. And only one of those styles ages well over 12 rounds. By the time Rogan finishes breaking it all down, the fight no longer feels like a simple question of who wins. It feels like an experiment. Can discipline neutralize chaos? Can explosiveness disrupt structure? Can patience outlast belief? Shakur Stevenson enters this fight as the man who wants to prove that intelligence is power, that defense is dominance, and that greatness doesn't need noise. Teófimo López enters as the man who believes unpredictability is the ultimate weapon, that pressure breaks systems, and that confidence bends reality. And Rogan, sitting right in the middle, doesn't crown a winner, he exposes the truth. This fight will be decided not by who wants it more, but by who understands it better. And that's what makes it terrifying, because when boxing stops being about emotion and starts being about execution, the loudest fighter usually isn't the one whose hand gets raised.